dedicate this song to you, my beautiful people. My beautiful people, come and sing along, yeah.
We are still celebrating the Black History Month, and today it is such a great privilege to have the great Honorable Samia Nkrumah. That is the very daughter of our very own Pan-Africanist or surgical Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. It is such a great privilege to have you. Welcome to the Diaspora African Forum show. How do you feel to first of all be here at the Embassy for the African Diaspora, helping bridge the gap?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for recognizing our father's contribution by having me, because I always see myself as representing his vision, what he stood for. And of course, this place, the Diaspora African Forum, has made a great contribution and continues to contribute to educating us and familiarizing ourselves with the global African family and the connections we have, and why we must even work harder, put in more effort to work closely together in the future. And of course, that's what our father championed.
Exactly.
That was his wish, his dream.
Exactly.
His vision.
And I could see you living that. Earlier, I saw how you were, admiring the work of Pan-Africanism in this gallery. And that is actually a part of you. But I understand that you just did not grow up taking that as an ideology, but there was some sort of a journey. Can you kindly take us through a journey? How was your childhood like growing up?
Yes, indeed. You're right. We had an interesting history. Why do I say that? That's even though, of course, we were born here in Ghana when our father was the head of state of this country, but in our early childhood, there was a dramatic change with the illegal overthrow of his democratically elected government. And that, the consequence of that act is that we were uprooted from our familiar surroundings here, and we went to live in our mother's country, which is Egypt. Yes, and we lived there for about a decade, and those were formative years, of course. We did not see our father until he passed away due to many circumstances. I think we are, let's go back and think about the conditions of Africa in the 60s. Countries are gaining independence, but by mid-60s, all those nationalistic, independent-minded Pan-African leaders, many of them were either overthrown or assassinated, or or just removed from the scene, from power, and Ghana was no exception. So that change had an effect on us in the sense that it took us away from our base in Ghana, but thank God things changed, and we returned, and that somehow mirrored our curiosity in our father's work and our desire to understand why was he so attacked and demonized. And that compelled me to look at his work, his life story, his policies, his ideas, and that was a very good education, I can say. So I think it's out of that, if you like, that pain, something good happened in that. It's helped me to become more aware, and of course today it's helping me to make sure that we continue to promote his legacy and represent him to the younger generation, because I think we are all coming round to the fact that his advice is timeless, it's invaluable, and it's the truth that Africans all over the world, born on the continent, born outside the continent, living on the continent, living outside the continent, we have one destiny, and our prosperity lies in our collective prosperity, in working together.
Yes. There was a time in a conversation you made a statement, and I felt that that was very, very deep. You stated that you are a Pan-Africanist and also believe in your father's ideologies, not because he is your father. So you actually are a scholar of an ideology, and you took yourself out of, you know, the fact that it is just by a biological connection, but accepting the great person and personality of who he is. What was that, you know, moment that you shared with him, and some of the words that he told you which created imprints in your heart that is still staying till date?
Very true, you are right. It's not blind loyalty. Yes, you're right. The reason I'm following our fathers, it's not out of blind loyalty, but out of conviction. There are many moments. You are asking about that moment or one moment, but actually it's been a process, you know, a process of education and familiarizing myself with his thoughts. Of course, we grew up with his books all around us, but I started reading his books seriously when I was at university and beyond, and particularly when I also returned to Ghana and entered active politics for a while. I was compelled to try and understand, you know, our condition by looking at his work. But to go back to specifically what you asked me, in that we can talk about some of those moments, huh? And some of those moments began from childhood, you know, like, for example, the same day of the coup d'etat that toppled his government, when he was not in the country, of course, as you might be aware. He was on his way to broker a peace between Washington and Hanoi at the time, because the Vietnam War was, you know, gathering momentum. So he was on his way to broker that peace when the coup struck. Now, by the time we reached safely Cairo, I think he had reached China on his way, you know, to Hanoi. He never made it to Hanoi, of course, but because he was informed there about the coup. But he made sure he called us to comfort us and just, you know, encourage us. And he spoke to each and every one of us. So the phone was, the rounds. Our mother, of course, first, then the three of us, the children. And when it came to my turn, I can never forget what he told me, because he said, Yaba, that's for girls born on a Thursday who come from the Nzima ethnic group, his group. Yaba, I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to be strong. And at the time I thought he was saying that because I was crying the whole day, you know. But it turns out that I like to believe he was giving me a bigger message, that we must not be afraid of championing his vision, of telling his story, you know. As we say, I mean, remembering is resistance. We have to remember, and we have to tell the story, and we have to own the narrative, and we have to learn from our history and our experience. So that was one of those moments which stayed in my mind, and maybe as a child I didn't understand it so well, but it stayed in my mind, and now it makes a lot of sense. Years later, when I picked one of his publications, Axioms of Kwame Nkrumah, which is a lovely little book with so many quotes by Kwame Nkrumah on different occasions, different events. And when you open Axioms, the first thing you see is the secret of life is to have no fear. And so you you put things together and realize that, yes, he used to say it's when he was talking to the Organization of African Unity, the leaders, that event, he would sometimes say it is courage we lack. You know, he stressed so much about this, and I don't think he was speaking about animal courage that we get up and, but I think he meant you have to. He was very big on ideas. Our father believed in us be armed with ideas and knowledge so that we know how to improve our condition as Africans.
That is very, very, very thought-provoking. So would you say that those words he told you, that do not be afraid, was actually what inspired you to be the great woman you are? Because, you know, you came back to your motherland, and not only did you, you know, stay back, just as they always say that the place for a woman is in the kitchen, but you went into politics, and now seeing an Nkrumah's daughter coming into politics, you know, that is such a daring movement. So would you say that those words that your father said was so much of a power that pushed you into such a great vision that you had back for the country?
Right. Yes, I think it pushed me in my life generally. I mean, mother always used to say, you are the strong one. You are the only girl, but you are the strong one. So I think I must have taken it to heart in every way. So throughout my life, it must have given me some strength. But you are right. I mean, it was a very it was a very courageous thing to do, you know, having been outside the country for many years and coming back wanting to make a contribution to that vision. And at the time, I thought active politics was one way to do it. It's not the only way, but it certainly is one way. But that experience has been a great education because it allowed me to struggle to understand our country and our condition. Because imagine, as chairperson of the political party I led for a few years, I had to travel all over the whole country, every constituency, almost every district, and that is invaluable education. There's nothing that I've read or done or that would have told me what's happening with our people, our land. I mean, that's when you see your country in its totality, and Ghana is only a microcosm of African continent. So that is when our father's teachings and ideas became crystal clear, you know. That's when you understand that we will need somehow to overcome our differences.
That is true.
To be able to work together, focus on industrializing, on increasing our production. You know, these things you cannot do if we are at loggerheads with each other.
True.
So this trying to build consensus and unite around what needs to be done in our countries is so important. So I think I can say it's been a privilege for me
Yes. You were recently at the Africa Prosperity Network, and the theme was making Africa borderless again.
That's right.
What do you think that the strategy has to be in making Africa borderless? Because your father championed Africa's, you know, unity. You see how he actually supported the Congo, Guinea, and a whole lot. What do you have to say?
Absolutely, we supported all liberation movements at the time. You are absolutely right, and of course we all want a borderless Africa. But that is even just one component of you know, this whole unification process, and it cannot work or succeed. It cannot even happen in isolation. You know, I mean, the beauty about our father's message is that it's comprehensive. He didn't give us bits and pieces, but it's almost like, you know, like the philosopher, exactly, that he was. He gave us the whole thing, you know. So borders and all the, doing away with borders and all the different components of economic integration, like having a common market, like what we are struggling to implement with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. All these different steps towards economic integration, our father said that they would work much better and become a reality much quicker if there's a common political basis. Meaning if countries, leaders, countries, institutions within our countries can sit together and have common agreements, political agreements as to how we can oversee this economic integration.
Right.
So what are we saying? We are using it. What we are saying is that we need to see unity as comprehensive. Not just economic, not just political, but cultural, educational, everything. This is the task of your generation in particular, yes. It's how to just take it all as one whole, not piecemeal. But this is the only way we can push and make it happen soon in our lifetime.
Okay. So with what you're saying, it actually goes back to, the process and stages of regional integration, the common market, the custom union, and all of that, the free trade area, which of course we have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And but your father, actually our father, believed in the political union. So that's how we had the Casablanca group. There was a Morovia, there was a Brazzaville group and all of that. But he actually felt that let us skip all of these process and go to the political union, and all of these other things will fall in place. But now the compromise was the African Union.
Yes.
Do you think that if your father was alive today, he would be proud of the Africa that we have today in terms of regional integration?
Okay. He will be concerned because it's taken so much time,
Okay.
Obviously, I think he would have speeded things up. But that's why he was taken out. You see, he was taken out because Ghana was not just helping liberation movements, but Ghana was leading and influencing others ideologically.
Yes.
With ideas about unity, about integration. So that's why he was harassed, demonized, assassination attempts, and eventually removed from the scene, precisely because of that. Because he gave us the ideas. And the strongest thing you can impart is to influence the consciousness, the minds of the people. And that's what he did with his numerous books, speeches, but even with his policies. So he was, yes, he was regarded as a threat, but the wonderful thing, because he always said it, that time and truth are inseparable. The wonderful thing that is happening is that there's a great energy and resurgence amongst African people, black people worldwide, that this is the time. We've wasted so much time arguing this way is better than that way to unite, just dithering. And now is the time that people are really eager, including the young generation who were not yet born at the time all this was emerging, all this was being born. There's this longing for us to achieve those dreams and realize them, those aspirations. So as we say, I believe the time is now,
you believe in women making change, and we sit in the very space that has been championed by a woman. I'm talking about Her Excellency Dr. Erica Bennett, the founder and head of mission for the Diaspora African Forum. You know, when it comes to the sixth region and the diaspora integration, you can always remember that woman who whispered into the ears of President Kufuor, who told the president of Senegal what. And then in that meeting of the OAU to the AU, they declared the African diaspora as the sixth region. You know, that is the very flag behind you. What can you say, you know, to women out there to actually follow the footsteps of Her Excellency Dr. Erica Bennett, yourself, and other women out there? How do we have the potential to believe in ourselves, to be daring, and to be fearless, and to cause a change? Please look into the camera and do that.
But you know, it's not a coincidence that the Diaspora African Forum has been led by a woman, Her Excellency Ambassador Bennett, because the reality is nothing happens in a great way, or no positive upheaval or change happens without the engagement and participation of women. I recall now as we are speaking this quote by our father when he said that you can measure a country's revolutionary awareness by the political maturity of its women. So you can translate it by saying that, you know, before any great change happens, it's women who have to embrace it, champion the cause, and push forward with it. So in everything that's good that's going to happen, we are praying and hoping that women will lead with young people. Women will lead young people, will lead our societies to embrace African unity in all its aspects. And I think when that happens, the day you will see so many women activists, women at the helm of all those organizations championing Pan-Africanism, I think change will happen, because women remain the greatest mobilizers, grassroots mobilizers and organizers. So it's not a coincidence, you know. It's not a coincidence at all, and I hope the Diaspora Forum would remain with us active, championing the cause of African unity and facilitating, you know, the engagement with the global African family for a very long time to come. At least until we achieve African unity.
Okay. That is very incredible how you really support, you know, the women cause in championing conversations. You know, your mother, Samia Nkrumah, such an adorable woman. What was the role that she played in your life, and what do you want people to know about her, you know, in Ghana and also the globe? Because here in Ghana, what we know is Odobi Fatia Nkrumah.
Yes,
but what is that thing that you would like to, you know, say about your woman, your mother, that makes her very exceptional? Yes.
Oh, many things, because I regard my mother as a very courageous woman, because she was very young when they got married, when father and mother got married, and her family were terrified about this union, because you're talking about 57, you know, when there wasn't much communication or familiarity between North Africa and West Africa, or Africa south of the Great Sahara Desert. So you can imagine that mother had the wherewithal and the courage and the openness, you know, and the freedom to, when it was put to her, the whole idea of marrying this revolutionary African, you know, from Ghana. Everybody was afraid, but she wasn't. She said, yes, I want to know more about him. I want to read. So they gave her some press cuttings and some, you know, leaflets. And she said, yes, she wants to meet him. At the very least, she wants to meet him. You know, it was an arranged marriage. It's not like they met somewhere. No. Our father had made up his mind to marry a woman from North Africa. Perhaps inspired or influenced by his great friendship with his political ally, the then president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser.
Yes.
And you must understand the context, because at the time there were very few independent African countries. Most of the independent countries were from North Africa, and then from other regions, Ethiopia, Ghana, you know, very few. So he naturally grew closer with North Africa, and they were also very supportive in our struggle. So anyway, it was a arranged political Pan-African romance, if you like. Yes. But
I like that.
That's what it. But it's because of the mindset of both of them that he decided to take this revolutionary step, and our mother also decided to take that revolutionary step by embracing the idea, and it worked. And mother, obviously, she had a great influence on us. Is that she always she talked to us about our father, and she encouraged us. In fact, when we returned and invited by the Achampong government 10 years after the coup d'etat, we were terrified. We didn't want to leave our familiar, safe surroundings, but she encouraged us, saying that this is our home. Our father would have wanted us to connect, reconnect with our base, with Ghana, our country of origin, of birth. And so I always believe that in her own way, her own unique way, she made a great contribution to promoting our father's legacy. They were only together for 8 years. She never remarried, never wanted to, but you know, and never wanted to, and she said it. So she, in many ways, she played her part, I believe, not just in bringing North Africa closer. Symbolically, I would say that marriage was a symbol of African unity, even from cultures that are that don't seem on the surface to have that much in common. So it was a symbolic step, and she made a contribution to Pan-Africanism. So I think it's very, it's right that her remains now in the Kwame Nkrumah mausoleum, to the right of our father, as the pharaohs would do. I think it's just ended up well, and I think, and I'm always grateful to Ghana for honoring her.
Great. So as we draw down the curtains, before we do that, I would like you to look into the camera, because your father said that you are not an African because you were born in Africa, but because Africa was born in you. So kindly look into the camera and speak to that young person in America, in Jamaica, in Suriname, in Barbados. You know, how do they have to believe these words of your father to understand that there is a home here in Ghana, and also there's an embassy for the diaspora?
Absolutely. And don't forget, this is Kwame Nkrumah, the leader of Ghana's independence, a great Pan-Africanist. And he's saying, you know, when he made that quote in his speech, he's talking about himself. He's saying, I am not an African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. So he's a man who gave everything, his whole life work. I dare say he gave his life for African unity. He's saying that Africa was born in him. So it's not a question about where you were born, where you are living as an African. It is about what is inside you. And if you believe that Africans, our success, our prosperity, our dignity lies in us being together, working together, thinking together, talking with each other, you know, doing everything together as one. If you believe that, then this is the time to take that step, to familiarize yourself with your home, the mother continent, and to study and read and acquaint ourselves with all these African philosophers, leaders, thinkers who have given us enough material, enough ideas to give us that courage to act and take that step. It is the same Kwame Nkrumah, our dear father, who said that, you know, if you have African descent, wherever you are in the world, whether you are in North America, Latin America, the Caribbean, wherever you are actually, as we speak, you are part of the African nation. You are an African. Your identity, our identity is one African. Our identity is one. We are Africans and we belong to the African nation.
Oh, we are Africans and we belong to the African nation. I just have so much goosebumps, you know, with hearing how prolific and how touching your words are. And so this is Black History Month, and this is how we draw down the curtains. It was a great privilege having the Honorable Samia Nkrumah, the daughter of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. It's a bye now.